Yay! I'm so honored and grateful to be here with Rachael Peltier. Rachael is a phenomenal healer that was recommended to me by my chiropractor that I love. She was like, you need to go see Rachael and you need to talk to Rachael. She has a phenomenal story and yeah, she just has such wonderful things to say about you. But Rachael is a subtle energy practitioner. I love that, who works at the intersection of body, energy, and nervous system regulation. I had the opportunity to experience your gifts firsthand. And I feel like so many people that experience extreme tension in the traps that I was like, just holding stress and tension up here in my neck and upper back and shoulders. And I do everything. And I've tried so many healing experiences from so many incredible people. And when I saw you, it made a huge shift in how I felt in my body. And I remember feeling like, and we'll get into it, but your work is like these small intentional movements, or part of the work that I've experienced, and that make these beautiful shifts that, like, if I weren't really focused, I could miss them. But that's the only way I can think to explain it. But I remember feeling like, I wonder if I could go through all of life this softly and have such big changes with such small intentional movements. So anywho, that's my little spiel about how awesome you are. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad you're here. And I would love to simply begin by hearing from your voice, who you are, what you're up to, anything from your mission in life to what you would love to do on a free afternoon.
Yeah. Wow. I could really go on and on about all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I think that I do kind of want to touch on just your experience in session because
Yeah.
it really does help to explain that work so well. And I feel like the work that we experience in session like that is kind of just this balance to life, right? I mean, so I combine techniques, I combine health coaching, craniosacral therapy, energy work. I was trained in Reiki, and then dynamic body balancing, which is a combination of myofascial unwinding and craniosacral therapy. I think that the way that I explain that work is it is listening and it is allowing. It is
Mm.
such a balance to what we experience, I think, in life in general, but so many of the other modalities that people try, and this is
Yeah,
not a knock at those modalities, right? I think that there's a place for all of them, but a lot of it
for
is
sure.
input or force. You know,
Yes.
chiropractic, massage, any of it. I use all of those tools and
Yes.
it is still input and force. Whereas those practices are, and especially traditional craniosacral therapy, you could sit and wait for 15 minutes, if not longer, in a certain position because you're trying to give the body an opportunity to let go. And that, depending
Mm.
on the person and how long that pattern or how long they've been stuck there,
Yeah.
can take a long time. So, really, I would say most people, when I feel release in places, they don't always pick up on it. You're someone who I think is connected and aware of that kind of stuff. Whereas, I would say maybe half of the people that I see are like, whoa, I really felt that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that that's just we are constantly inundated with information, with input externally. And so we end up seeking more of the same with some of these modalities. And it's
Yeah.
hard to shift from that to
Yes.
the listening, the allowing, the release. Yeah. So that's just kind of,
What is it that you feel? Yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask, when you feel that let go, what is it that how would you describe that
hmm
noticing?
Yeah. I would say so there's specific holds that I always do, which and there's a
Yeah.
hold that you do on the sacrum, and then there are several holds that you do around the head. And when you are on the sacrum, you're waiting for this essentially release of cerebral spinal fluid. So we have that
Mm.
fluid all throughout around our brain, our spinal cord, and essentially it is helping to nourish and flush toxins. And when things get dysregulated, our nervous system gets dysregulated, then that gets a little bit out of whack, right? And so
Yep.
we're placing that intentionality there and trying to allow that the opportunity to get back into its natural rhythm. And so when
Yeah.
I feel that, it's more of like I might feel like the pulsing of it a little bit just like kind of random, a little bit scattered, maybe fast, and then there'll
Yeah.
be this like kind of big drop. And then I'll feel just like
Wow.
this subtle like rocking.
Wow.
Yeah, it really takes touching a lot of people, however good
Yeah.
or bad that sounds, but to like
Yeah.
be able to sense that because
Yes.
I remember in training, people were like, I do not know what I'm supposed to be feeling. I don't feel anything.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, it feels like that. Otherwise, it sometimes feels like this, like kind of like spiraled pulsing that like radiates out bigger and bigger. It's
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's funny that you asked that because, I mean, people have asked me that before,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I've asked other practitioners how they experience it
Yeah.
because they might have a totally different thing that they're sensing or how they know when that's happening.
Yes. Okay, random tangent. And then I like so want to know how you got into this work, but I love that you said it feels almost like a rocking sometimes
Mhm.
because the image that I often get when I go internal is that of an ocean. And that's also like just written about in mystical places, just everywhere, like from the beginning of time. So I just love that connection. I think that's so beautiful and
Hmm.
cool that I'll see that you feel like, to me, I'm like, oh, there's something there.
There's a lot there, and actually, I with what I'm exploring now with a program that I'm creating just this morning, I
Yeah.
was looking at the archetype of the ocean and
Really?
myth and mysticism, and was really diving into that. So the fact that you brought that up is also just
I love
a
that.
little nod.
That's my favorite part of life. Yeah.
Yeah,
That gives me goosebumps. That's really cool.
yeah.
Okay, okay, I need to, like, write well, no, can I just ask now, can I ask what the program is that you're creating?
It is evolving. I right now have some people in like a kind of a beta version of it, which initially like started out as helping people to establish or reestablish their foundation, right? Like
Cool.
how do we return to ourselves? How do we become kind of unshakable in that?
Yes.
And as I started working it, which was the intention, right? When you do something like that,
Yeah.
because then you kind of have the opportunity to create as you're creating.
Yeah.
And it started to incorporate just there's a deck that I have that is
Cool.
talking about the archetypes. And so
Yes.
I started Kim Krans. I don't know if you're familiar.
No.
Mm, I hadn't been as familiar with the archetypes, and I did not realize the connection to Carl Jung. Like all of this stuff was just
Cool.
like just totally
Yeah.
blowing my mind as I was diving into
Yeah.
it. So as I've been working this, it's becoming more of like the connection and being in the space between the mythical and the literal or the practical
Mm.
and like just becoming who you really are and like who I see the future vision or what I see the future vision of this program or the next iteration of it
Yeah.
is gonna, I think, be more about that. And it will of course include, I mean, you're gonna need to be able to establish your foundation and connect to the breath and have all of these nervous system practices
Yeah.
incorporated. But I think it's a bigger, that just doesn't feel like enough for me or feel authentic enough for me. And I want it to be more of just like this, I don't know, a little bit more mystical of just like kind of that zooming out and zooming back in.
Yeah.
Like
Cool.
the human experience, the spiritual experience. So I really want that
Yes.
to tie together more.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, and what is an archetype? I feel like it's one of those things I feel like I kind of nod and smile along, and I've never had the opportunity to like really understand what it is when I hear people talk about it.
Yeah.
What is an archetype?
So I was just down the rabbit hole last week about this.
Yeah.
So it's like the symbols that are present throughout history, right? And they are
Mm,
representation. They're apparently like in multiple different myth and story. Like you
yeah.
have, are you familiar with like the hero's journey?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
that incorporates it too, but it's just like this idea that we're all sharing the same experience, and there is always like the mother figure, the father figure, the self,
Wow.
the
Yes.
shadow.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah.
always these themes that are present for everyone, and then like kind of going back in history through different stories that we've heard and myths that we've heard. So
Yes.
they're these characters, symbols that appear, but they all have these like layered meanings, and they have meanings that are like in the light of them and the dark of them.
Hmm.
It's a very like intricate and kind of layered way of thinking, which I
Yeah.
love. Um
Same.
yeah, so that's what I've
Beautiful.
found so far.
Yeah. So cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's
Thank you for telling me that.
yeah.
So I was like, yeah, archetypes. I don't really know what it is, but um that's amazing. Okay, so how did you become the healer that you are with, somatic healing and dynamic body balancing and cranial sacral? Would you ever want to like break down a little bit of what these are?
Yeah.
I mean, we could be here all day. That's like, there's so much to all that, but like, what led you to down this path of healing
Yeah.
that I feel like is like very unique to you?
Yeah, I think I think that's true of anyone in this type of work
Yeah.
if they allow
Yeah.
it to be that, right? Because
Mm,
everyone's going to
mm-hmm.
have their own unique kind of flair that they put
Yeah.
on their
Yeah.
practices. And it
Yes.
really took a lot of permission, honestly, for me to get to a point where I was like, no, I can allow this to be my
Yes.
fusion.
I love that.
Yeah, of just like how I
Yeah.
work with these practices.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The timing of being on here with you is so interesting because I'm at such a point of that I didn't anticipate of like not abandoning where I'm at as an in-person practitioner, but I'm really trying to expand and
Yeah.
reach more people in a different way
Yes.
that I wouldn't be able to do without working with those practices. But really, it started, I went to school for kinesiology and always had an interest in health. And then I spent some time in a sales role in the corporate world and was like, no, I really do hate this. I really do hate this. I will say, though, invaluable experience being in sales for sure. And so that was about a 5 to 7 year thing. And then I came
Yeah.
back to like, no, I really am so passionate about health and well being. And so then pursued a certificate in health coaching, which was wonderful and just did not feel deep enough for me. And so that was when Reiki really came next. And I would say that Reiki really happened upon me. Someone just asked me about this the other day, and how I discovered that I could sense some of that. And
Yeah.
honestly, still really don't know how to explain it. Honestly, like because that really was a pivotal point in my journey was I had a
Mm-hmm.
really hard fall on my tailbone. And it was like during the healing of that and after that point, I was able to sense things differently. And there is so much that we could say on this, right? Because
Yes.
I think the question that the person originally asked me was, when do you think that you started to know your connection to your intuition or something like that? And I
Yeah.
said, well, probably really young. And
Yeah.
I think it was there throughout life. And I think that that's not even the way I would answer that question because we're all intuitive, right? But
Yes.
there are definitely theories, and some would say that it's not a theory, it's more of a fact of like, we
Yeah.
develop the root first early on in life. And
Hmm.
that is our sense of safety, our sense of belonging, being in the body. But depending on how safe or not safe your environment is, you continue to move
Yeah.
up the chakra system and you
Huh.
will behave from that, not behave, but like you interact with life from that point, right? And most people will move up to the third eye, this, intuition, because they need that. It's not safe. Certainly not going to be safe to create. Certainly not going to be safe to be yourself. Certainly not going to be safe to be in your heart. Certainly not going to be safe to
Yeah.
speak. So you need to be able to interpret your environment. Essentially, most people become hyper
Huh.
vigilant. So it's like you're
Yeah.
coming from that place of like, I need to be able to be really intuitive. So that was a tangent that I
Hmm.
didn't mean to go on, but I think needed to go on.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that was reflected to me later on.
Yeah.
But yes, so I think we all have an intuitive sense, and then I think I shut
Yes.
it down for many years or just didn't tap into it, and then until I fell, it it woke something up in me, and when I researched that, I the Kundalini rising or Kundalini awakening, and that apparently there are
Mm-hmm.
these crystals in your spinal cord or at the base of your spine. And I'm like, I don't know. I cannot say that for sure. Some of this stuff has been around for
Yes.
years and years and years.
Yes.
Does that feel like what happened? It does. All that I
Mm-hmm.
know is that I was very much able to interpret things differently after that. And
Wow.
yeah, it was like I was able to kind of see things in my mind's eye differently. My husband and I kind of randomly asked him if I could do like an energy session on him. Like this was so random and weird because I'm like,
Really? Yeah.
yes, like I had never had Reiki done. I didn't even know what Reiki was at the time. And we had a very mirroring experience, and the things that presented themselves were very interesting.
Wow.
And so then after
Between you and
that,
your husband in that
yes,
energy session?
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, and just things that kind of led me to the
Yeah.
next step, and it was like I told a
Yeah.
few people about it, and they were like, "Well, it sounds like Reiki." So,
Wow.
then I pursued that.
Are you familiar with Aaron Apke? Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No?
He does like the Jesus Way podcast, and he'll teach people how to like safely have Kundalini awakenings. And I did one of his courses, and he actually talked about that sometimes people fall on their tailbone and like inadvertently have these awakenings. And he was like, now don't go and intentionally fall or like hurt yourself. But this has been like historically proven
Wow.
to happen. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. And then to have you say that, that's so cool and fascinating. And also like for anyone listening, don't like go fall.
No.
But what is it that, but you were like, okay, like you
Yeah.
didn't have, yeah,
Well, I'm really curious how I mean, I guess I understand that you could do that through meditation, but I don't know of other practices. Like I'm very curious what he would have people.
does to wake it up.
Yes.
Yeah. He does like, he'll do postures where like the root chakra is, the only word that comes to mind is like activated, like almost like your heel in that area.
Mm,
Or like I think he will recommend a tennis ball. I mean, don't take my word for it. Like,
okay.
go do his work, but something like that. And he does lots of visualizations of similar to how you were describing, like moving up the chakras,
Mhm.
like seeing energy come up to the root chakra and then the next one and the next and working its way up and just kind of getting used to interacting with your own sense of your energy moving up and down the body.
Interesting.
That was part of it. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
reminds me a
And I haven't
little.
finished the class.
Okay. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like how Joe Dispenza's work and how he does breath work, if
Oh,
you're familiar
yeah.
with him.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's oddly
Yeah.
validating.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, okay, so you had this like greater
Yes.
sense of energy and awareness.
Yes.
And then it was first awakened in you. And then you were like, this is Reiki. So then you studied it
Yes, then I did.
deeper.
Yes, I'm like I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
where was I going with this? And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I think that that part is important to talk about, and it was just kind of like the building of how I got to where I am now. And
Yeah.
I focused on just Reiki for a long time, and I had craniosacral sessions that were really profound. I just kind of was waiting for the right moment to
Mm.
do or find the right training for that. So I did a
Yeah.
little bit of training with like the traditional craniosacral and then explored dynamic body balancing, which was another life-changing training. And yeah, I mean that is with Dr. Carol Phillips, and I had been recommended to do that. That one is the combination of the myofascial unwinding and craniosacral
Mm-hmm.
therapy. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can think of like, it's funny, like the way that I would describe it is like, because chiropractors are like, okay, I want to move something. Like she's a
Yeah.
chiropractor, and it's kind of like an
Okay.
impatient version of craniosacral, right? It's like, we're going to help you kind of move through this, but it is
Cool.
a truly like
Oh,
fascinating. The training was fascinating. And it was really
yeah.
about birth. She talked and brought a lot of
Mm,
things back to birth that truly I was not interested in any of that when I first started the training, but
yeah.
then about 30
Yeah.
minutes in, she showed a video of her doing an unwinding, she would call it, on a baby, and
Mm, mm.
pretty much everyone in the room was in tears, and I was like,
Wow.
"My gosh, I absolutely must learn all of this." So I ended up doing all of her trainings. But
Cool.
yeah.
So what would it release in a baby if they're so like pure and fresh and
Yeah. It would be more
yeah,
of like
what is
the
it?
physicality,
Yeah.
right? So it's a lot of
Yeah.
work with the fascia. And so I mean
Yeah.
from being in utero, like they're
From
in,
birth. Yeah.
yes, and especially birth.
Yeah.
I mean birth is traumatic for them as
Yeah.
well, depending on like how they come through the birth canal, if they're C-section. There's so many things that can happen in birth and just even before that where
Yeah.
I think that people I have this idea of like, well, how could a baby be in pain, right? Because they're so just like wiggly, but
Yeah.
they are, and a lot of times
Yeah.
that is the case, right? And you can do this work, especially when babies are having a hard time latching,
Mm,
because with the fascia, this network around our entire body, and when there is tension
yeah.
in one area, it's gonna pull everywhere else in the body. So, it's
Mm,
influencing our entire structure.
well,
And that can be from a physical or emotional experience. So there could be something really
yes.
emotional that the mother experienced that the baby is also going to be processing, because those two are
Wow.
so intimately connected. So, yeah,
Wow.
it's deep.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So would that be so I think that's in part what I experienced from you, right? Was a combination of the dynamic body balancing, cranial sacral and
Energy work.
energy work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there was a time when I first completed that I was trying to keep things separate,
Huh?
and that just started to feel so clunky that that was when it was like I had to say, okay, I'm a subtle energy practitioner because this is
Mhm.
a fusion of all of these things,
Yeah.
and I need to just let them flow however they need to
Yeah.
flow instead of trying to define, well, this is this modality. I just needed to let it be what it was and
Yeah.
say that these are the three things or the different things that I work with.
Who would you say primarily comes to you? Is it like with physical pain or emotional or both? Can I
Both.
ask that? Or like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People come to me, especially like, I think that there is a beauty in saying like, I work with this specific kind of person, but this kind of
Yeah.
work really benefits anybody who's open to it. And
Yeah.
I see people for physical pain, I see people for grief, I see people who are on the other side of a cancer diagnosis, I've seen kids, I've seen so many different kinds of people. Like I think that what they're seeking is relief,
Yes.
connectedness to their body,
Yeah.
connectedness to self,
Yes.
balance, so there's a number of reasons why somebody would seek that physical, mental, emotional. So,
How
spirits.
does your work help? Yeah, yeah. How does your work help people move through grief or like intense emotional blockages?
Well, I think that people really only started to come to see me for grief related because almost 3 years ago now, I lost my stepdad. And it was like that year, I think
Yeah.
80% of my clients, whether they were referred to me or not, were coming to see me
Yeah.
for grief. And that's very typical
Hmm.
in when you're in
Mm-hmm.
practice. Like you see people who kind of in that same journey
Yeah.
that you're in. But emotionally, in general, like the way that I like to explain this work is, when we talk about we're trying to get that release of the cerebrospinal fluid, we're trying to get these different releases. We're trying to bring the body into a state of balance. We're trying to bring the body into homeostasis, right? Like, can we create enough
Yes.
safety here that the nervous system can regulate? And
Mm.
when that happens, then it's like the body has this opportunity to take true inventory of like, okay, what's really going on here? And for a lot of
Mm.
people, that's an emotional thing, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes we just don't have the space to process that, right? And when we're revved up and dysregulated, it's really not even safe for us to process emotions.
Yes.
Your body's not going to
Yeah.
let you in many cases. So it's very common that people have an emotional release. Some people, the second they
Yeah.
sit down, because it's just like they're in an
Yes.
environment where their body's like, I have got to let this go.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how,
I love that. And yeah, when I was on the table with you and you were doing small adjustments, I guess I could call them. And I think at one point your hand was near like a right side of my hip where I feel like I stored a lot of things for I don't know how else to word that, just after having babies and often get pain in that area to the point where I'm like, am I having appendicitis? Like what's going on? And as you were working on that area, I had memories come up from certain points in motherhood and space to just emotionally release. And I think there was at least one or two times where I felt like as happy as can be, or I thought I was like, I didn't feel like I was going to cry that day. I didn't see that coming. Um, is maybe a better way to say it. And then just like tears would come and flow. And I just had a sense of lightness afterward.
Mhm.
And two, like yeah, actually I'm not having trouble with I was having so much trouble with my ear. And
Mm,
I'm just remembering now, like it's not giving me trouble at all. It was like my tension in right trap and ear. And I say that too because I know that's something like so many people experience is this extreme tension.
yeah.
And yeah, I will just never be over like the small subtlety of the work that you do and like the profound output that it can have. I just like feel like I'm just like, I really want to say that in case if anybody listening has, extreme pain or in the physical body that just will not go away. I just could not recommend this work enough.
Yeah.
And I think a surprising output can be having the experience of letting something go emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, random tangent, but
No.
or not random, but just tangent on the beauty that I experienced from your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much in that, right? Like that could be because when I'm working with someone too, there are other schools of thought that we have to consider. A lot of people come in with stuff that is right-sided and
Mm.
then we can ask the question of, okay, or we can consider the fact that the right side of the body is associated with the divine masculine, the doer,
Mhm.
versus the left
Yes.
side being associated with the divine feminine, the receiver. And I think that many people can resonate with like go, 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 more, 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 more. And so it's
Yeah.
so common for people to experience some kind of
Mm.
dysregulation on the right side because I think a lot of people get caught in that pattern. And with just different parts of the body, there's different questions that we can ask. So it could be
Mm.
fascia related, right? Because the fascia can store that memory, physical, mental, or emotional. And then once we bring in awareness
Yeah.
there, that might give the body the opportunity to, in best case scenario, remember and release. That release
Mm.
might look a number of different ways. It might just be physical, but oftentimes there's going to be an
Yeah.
emotional experience there too. But
Yeah.
yeah, different parts of the body kind of can bring up different questions. And it doesn't have to be, like you don't have to be trained to think about what that might represent, right? Like what is carried, what do our hips do? What are they responsible for? What is that area of your body responsible for? And
Yes.
I think that those are just great questions that you can ask whenever you're experiencing pain or even just sitting with that area of your body and holding
Mm.
it yourself.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of power in that's one of the things I guess that I want to say is just like to empower people to like heal themselves in that way. Just
That's
bringing
so beautiful. Yes.
bringing your own energetic awareness to different areas of your body, especially when you're in pain.
Yes. Yes. That's so beautiful. Yeah. I just love that so much. And that just like, yeah, that resonates so much. And that's like personally an ongoing journey for me to kind of let go of forcing things and invite myself into like what if this could be effortless, and what if I could just be myself and I could watch life align versus like forcing forcing doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really, I love that. And the way you word that is, I'm like, do I want to go there? Well, I'll just really quick, just like the way you word that is so beautiful because I feel like it's not in any way like placing blame on ourselves for like pain or things that are going wrong, but rather this like empowering invitation to like partake in our own healing.
Indeed. And
Um,
I would just say, like, let's take the example of a car accident, right?
yeah,
I mean, there is going to be, of course, there's going to be a physical experience. But there's gonna be an emotional experience that you have that in the moment, because there's that impact, like, you can't process that, right? So there's gonna be
right.
things I'm using that as a bigger example of, like, there's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
things that happen from that where
yes,
you don't have the space or capacity to process in the moment, and so that is just
yeah,
something that has to happen later. Yeah,
yes,
it's more of an invitation, and I mean, I have found myself in the moment where I'm having pain because I've said it to clients where I'm like, you have knee pain. I'm like, have you ever sat and just held your knee? No, hadn't occurred to me. I'm like,
mm,
just try it. Just try it once
yes,
a day for a minute, right?
yes,
And I've had
yes,
moments where I'm like in pain, and then it takes me 2 weeks to be like, Rachel, have you sat
yes,
and held it?
yes, yes,
So it's, yeah, definitely not placing blame at all. It's just about it's educating. And I think that I
mm,
I try to operate from a less is more mentality. And I mean, that's obviously, as you know, the practices that I
mm,
have are just like it's less, it's slow, it's simple, it's gentle,
mm,
and
yeah,
trying to infuse that in more places
yes,
rather than the force.
yes. I love that so much. And I mentioned to you before we got on, like I felt this. I'm like, I need to go see Rachel. Like I felt like I actually have like fluid almost like stuck, you know?
Mm,
Like you mentioned fluid before. It feels like not congestion fluid, but just like something is not flowing. And like in a fleeting moment, just asked my neck, like, what's going on?
Mm.
What do you need? And I do feel like I just want to rest. I want a little self-care. And I do feel like I need to just like spend a long amount of time writing. I don't know. I just trying to give like another example of what that can sound like, because I think that's the most beautiful way to go about life. That I love being in relationship with my body, and I rarely just like sit and spend time with my body like that. So it's such a beautiful invitation.
I
I
love
love that.
that live
Yeah.
implementation and that's how it can show up too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't even want to say that the odds are that you know the answer,
Yes.
but
You
you
do.
have to cultivate. I do believe that
Yes.
you have to cultivate your ability to listen,
Yes.
and you are someone who does, I think, spend time intentionally listening and listening to our bodies seems to be this kind of foreign concept like that, but that's what I want to invite people to do. I'm like, the wisdom is there, your body knows, and
Oh, yes.
but
Yes.
I think it also goes back to like, we want the answer now, 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 and if
Yes.
we are pushing
Yes.
and forcing and trying to demand the answer, where is the space to receive an answer
Mm.
rather than trying to encounter it or find it or demand that we see it? So
Yes.
it's a practice for sure.
Yes. What does it like sound like for you? Like, does it come in when you hear an invitation from your body or you take time to listen to your body? Does it sound like a thought?
Mm.
Or does it like come in as a knowing? Or do you like feel what to do next? What's that experience like for you when you're practicing that listening?
Yeah, that's interesting because there are like three different voices, right? There's the
Mm-hmm.
chatter of the chatter.
Yep.
And then there is kind of like this, yeah, maybe higher version of self
Mm-hmm.
voice that would
Yep.
speak up in that moment. And then there's God.
Yeah.
And they all have a different tone, energy, color, I would say.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the color of God for you
Like a,
or tone?
yeah, like a very deep blue. Like it's like like feels like the ocean. It's just like this really
Yes.
holding
Yes.
like boom,
Yes.
you know?
What's your higher self one?
That feels more like yellow gold. It's like
Mm.
strong.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your chatter?
It feels more like gray. Just kind of like just noise. Just noise.
Yeah.
Like maybe don't listen to me kind
I
of thing.
love that so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I hadn't actually thought about
Okay.
that, but I like the rapid
Yeah.
fire because then I know my intuition's working when I'm not
Yeah.
trying to think
Yep.
about it too
Yep.
much.
Yeah. Think you're right. Okay. I feel just pulled to ask you about. I feel like there's been a lot of commentary recently on just like the feel of the world, this like juxtaposition between this maybe heaviness or weight with also this like maybe deep pull to align ourselves or I don't even know how to put words to it, but I that's what I want to ask you.
Uh,
Like, how would you describe like what you sense going on in the world right now, and how can we collectively elevate our frequency?
No pressure. No pressure here.
No pressure.
Yeah, I have obviously been thinking about it a lot. And I have been, I would use the word prayer. Like that's how I resonate with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've been praying about it a
Yeah.
lot. I love that you're asking me this because I wouldn't voluntarily go here, but it's a good opportunity to go here.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about what is happening right now, there are so many opinions and there are so many perspectives, and depending on whose perspectives those are, that is true for them. And I'm not going to try to take away from any of that. What I hear and what I feel when I connect with
With
God
mm-hmm.
is to remain grounded and stable in
Mm.
myself and in my
Mhm.
work and in what I
Yes.
believe that I am here to cultivate, grow,
Yes.
create,
Yes.
because what that is about, it is, as we've in many different ways talked about on here, is this sense of empowerment.
Mm.
And really, what that is doing is raising the vibration.
Well,
So I feel that, I guess, I want to kind of step a little bit from that. When I think about everything that is happening right now, and what I have been focused on in talking with a couple of people, like clients specifically,
yeah.
when,
Yeah.
because that question has been asked, like, how do I be with this energy that is around, right? Like there is a heavy charge, and that's just the science of it. I mean, we live in
Mm.
Minnesota, and it's going to be very hard to not feel when everyone is feeling it very close to us physically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that the idea of, alchemizing or transmuting energy, and
Mm.
that really goes back to intentionality, right? Like it's almost as,
Yes.
and I've been feeling called to create a meditation around this, but when I think, I'm like, I've been
Mm.
thinking about the city, and it's like, it's so kind of perfect with like, I picture like the ground is frozen and there's all of
Mm.
this big emotion and anger and rage, and
Mhm.
it makes
Mhm.
sense, right? And I think
Yeah.
that the way that I experience anger and the way that I talk about it with clients is
Yeah.
anger is a powerful emotion.
Yeah.
It's often the signal like something is not right, but it is
Mm. Mhm.
really not the true emotion. So, can we
Yeah.
get beneath that and be vulnerable enough to
Yeah.
feel into what is really coming up, right? What are we really feeling? A lot of
Yeah.
times it's sadness or grief or something that is just a much more vulnerable emotion to experience rather than rage or anger.
Yeah.
That feels more
Yeah.
powerful. But I think that not everybody's capable of that, especially not in this time, right? They just can't. And so I think that for the people who can you
Mhm.
intentionally move through some of those emotions yourself? Can you sit and
Yeah.
say a prayer or do a
Yes.
meditation that where you're visualizing some of that energy being transmuted, like literally seeing it move down into the earth, and trust that
Mm.
she is capable of transmuting it into something more
Wow.
powerful.
Yeah.
Or you give that up to
Wow.
God. I mean, whatever resonates
Wow.
with you,
Wow. Yeah.
can you turn it over? And I think that we just
That's
underestimate
beautiful. Yeah.
underestimate the power of our intention. That's what I
Yes.
see more than
Oh,
anything.
yes.
So that is kind of
So tr
what I'm feeling in this time, is like
yes. Yes.
that's something that we can do anywhere.
Yes.
And that feels like, it's like I still I'm glad that you asked me about it, because I've had an opportunity to explain this a couple of times, and I realize that I'm still kind of getting the words to say this in the way that I want to say it,
Yes.
because I think it's important that it becomes more and more clear as I keep saying it.
Yes.
Um
Yes.
yeah. I don't
And yes.
I hope that I
You
answered
wrote
that
something
fully.
beautiful the other day too. You answered that stunningly. And I don't think I could underscore enough, like, how you said we underestimate the power of our intention. I mean, all that comes to mind is like that. I think intention, aligning with our intention, placing intention, that is all like the future, just like, I mean, it is so powerful. And you wrote something so beautiful the other day too that was so encouraging about prayer, and I think you, might have mentioned dance too, unless if I'm maybe making that
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
or maybe I think yeah,
No,
and I have been dancing. I've felt, and it's almost embarrassing to say because it's like something so almost silly and lighthearted when things can feel heavy, but I keep hearing just dance, and I've just felt a call to dance. And I have used it as an imaginative prayer. And for me, I have imagined the weight, my own, but then also of the world, like lifting up and off of me. I love what you said, the invitation. Did you say to see it going into the earth
Uh-huh.
and trusting her to, that's so beautiful. I'm going to try that next.
Thank you for doing that
I think that's
practice
so beautiful.
because that matters. Like, had a client respond to me saying that she's like, I allowed myself to feel all of the emotions of this. She's like, I
Yes.
cried for
Yes.
hours. She's,
Well, and that was the other thing. I sobbed after the other day.
yes.
Yes.
So thank you. I mean, and I think like that is how like energy has to move. Like we've all heard it, right?
Yes.
It's not created or destroyed. It's like it is and it
Yes.
changes form. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
your intention of moving it, and maybe you need to physically, I mean, I just heard this yesterday, which I did not know. And is it true? I don't know. But like that part of the reason after speeches and certain things that we clap is to disperse the
Yeah.
energy. I'm like,
Wow.
so
Interesting.
like thinking about, I mean, just there's so many ways that we can
Wow.
do this, but like,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think that dance and movement, intuitive movement, especially in this time is essential because I mean, we're all feeling it, right? So it's like, how do I
Yes.
unwind, move my fascia so
Yes.
that I can
Yes.
get this out of my body? And especially when that is paired
Yes.
with intentionality of this being
Yes.
turned into something else, like
Yes.
potent,
Mm.
extremely
Yes.
potent.
I want my intention to be that it turns into something potent. I love that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, alchemized into something
Yeah.
really potent love. And too, sometimes I feel like I just can't do it. And that's when I'm grateful that there are healers and physical healers that move things for us. And we just kind of agree to it and say yes.
Mhm.
And I'm going to like show up. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes we need the witness
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
reflection and someone
Right.
else to help us.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
totally the human
Yeah.
totally human.
How do you experience mirrors and reflections in your life?
I give me a little bit more. Like with people or with
Yeah, just like reflection. Earlier, you said with your husband, when you practiced energy work on him, you had a beautiful mirror experience.
Mm.
And then just now you said sometimes we need like the witness, the mirror, the reflection. Just seeing the world as our mirror is my personal obsession and thing that has like changed my life probably the most. And so I just would be curious to hear if anything comes to mind for you in that.
Yeah. I like this question. So, okay, well, to clarify, when I talked about when I worked on my husband, what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
meant was when I was
yeah.
working on him, we weren't verbally communicating, but then
Okay.
afterward when we were both reflecting, like we had the same like emotional energetic experience but through different
Yeah.
visual imagery. So that was kind
Cool.
of wild, but that wasn't necessarily
Love that.
like a mirror of like my
Got it.
current self.
Yes.
That is really something I have been diving into more recently, honestly, with like reading or listening to more so Neville Goddard. Are you familiar?
Oh.
Yeah. So he uses a lot of biblical reference, but it is more of, he doesn't refer to it as the law of attraction, more so the law of assumption. But I mean, a lot of the law of attraction stuff has been present in my world since I was a kid, since my dad.
Really? That's cool.
Well, I didn't know it was that, but my dad
Okay. Yeah.
forced me to read As a Man Thinketh when I was a kid.
Hmm.
I didn't really have
Yeah.
an appreciation for that until later. So it was like I had this awareness of it. But a lot of that would speak to like the way that you think, the way that you are
Yeah.
being that is represented in your current
Yeah.
circumstance.
Yeah.
And I've had that awareness, but I think more recently and just I think the experience of being a mom has just kicked
Mm,
up a whole nother level and layer of that for me of because I think that when you're in this work, well, not always, but your ability, your capacity as a practitioner really hinges upon the work that you've done. The more that
yeah.
you are willing to work on yourself, the more that you can hold. And I feel like I have been diligent about that. And so now we're really getting down to some patterns that are they've been there a long time, probably not necessarily mine, things that have shown up generationally, but that are really just like the icky. So it's like that's kind of where I'm at right now and witnessing some of those unworthiness, I think, is a big one that has been showing up for me in different areas. But
Since giving birth, more so?
yes, actually, yeah, that was, I think, part of what was delaying my labor. And that was something that I said
Mm,
to my doula was because she could tell. I mean, she's a very intuitive person. She's like,
yeah.
she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I just don't." Because I could feel myself just delaying the birth, just contractions slowing down, and I'm like, "I just feel unworthy of this." And I think that there's so many threads of that, um,
Yeah.
that I'm seeing just in bigger, deeper ways now, but I'm getting an opportunity to work through it because I must.
Yes. May I ask what you are doing or receiving to tend to your sense of worthiness?
Yeah. I think that for me, that ends up having to be like a conversation with like myself and God. I
Yeah.
have to find an opportunity to like converse like out loud, right? And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
conversing with God when I do that.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, I've been able to identify different places that might come from, different stories. So I kind of have to like work through and verbally process it
Yeah.
and almost like get to the reframe. And I know that
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how everybody would do that, right? Maybe somebody would use an affirmation or that might be a
Yeah.
totally different practice. But it's like for me, I have
Yeah.
to almost like rationalize it of
Yes.
like why I'm receiving something or why a connection is being made or whatever it is. Like I need to like make it make sense somehow.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah.
and usually I arrive at that through kind of conversation or reflection from God.
That's beautiful. And it's funny too, because an affirmation that I was recently challenged to work through for myself right now was I am worthy of love if I never have success. If I never publish my book, if I never accomplish one more thing, I am worthy of love. And to try to feel that and yeah, so like you said, it's a conversation with you and God. And for me, it's been like, I'm worthy of love because I have the light of Christ in me. If I never do one more thing, I can extend energy from myself just by sitting here. And wouldn't that be lovely? And that's like, I don't know. That's just how I'm
Yeah.
processing it right now too. And just something I'm currently working on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's
Yeah.
a great way to explain it too, right? Like, and that's probably like in some cases, like what I arrive at. Like, it's enough. I'm enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many. I think there's just so many ways though that wound shows up, and it's.
Yeah.
I think that I want to bring up something. Hopefully, this isn't. Hopefully, I'm not
Yeah.
going rogue on you here. Um.
I like going rogue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is a couple of times as we've been talking, it's something that has popped in my head. And
Yeah.
what I've been challenged with a lot lately is trusting trusting God. And I think that, I
Yes.
know for some people there's a charge to that, to God. So whether it's spirit or life or however somebody wants to frame it, like trusting the process of
Yes.
life, however you
Yep.
want to look at
Yep.
that,
Yes.
for me, that's
Yes.
just what it is.
Yep.
But I was reading from the Jesus Calling book, and it was talking
Yeah.
about, it was from the January 30th, and it was talking about um, your worries and your anxieties, and how if you trust in God, and like essentially that's the balm
Mm.
to those
Yes.
things. And it was something that you were talking about earlier that I wanted to bring it up, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had to kind of go back and forth with a friend of mine, because I'm like, okay, but what does that mean, right? If I trust
Yeah.
fully, but like this is
Yes.
something you were talking about earlier with, like, that's the energy, that's the embodiment of I know. Like, I know for certain,
Yes.
and that's not an
Yes.
easy thing to do, because that's surrendering control in every form.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is something I have been just sitting with so much, is like, what does it
Mm.
really feel like to
Yes.
trust fully? How would I move?
Oh,
How would I act if I trusted
wow.
the process of life
Yes.
in every action that I
Yes.
took?
Yes. Oh,
That would be
what does
free.
that feel like for you? Free?
That would feel really free. I would say that I can really only
Yeah.
achieve it in these kind of moments where I'm really intentional. I have to,
Yes.
when I'm doing a certain
Yes.
action, I'm like, okay, tap back into that, right? Like, and I think that I'm
Yes.
really witnessing it in myself as a mom on someone else's schedule.
Mm.
Prior to this, I really was able
Yeah.
to kind of
Right.
heal this like rushing mentality, where I was like rushing around and hurrying up.
Yes.
And I was able to get to a point, but then since becoming a mom, I'm like, shit, here we
Oh,
are again.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm like, now I'm being challenged at another level of, because like that's real. That's a very real thing.
Right.
But I'm like,
Yes.
there's this other factor that is challenging me at another level
Yes.
to trust more deeply. Do
Wow.
I need to rush? If he wakes up from a nap
Yes.
in a half an hour and I expected an hour, can I trust that that was all it was meant to be, and
Can I?
I didn't do something
Oh,
wrong? And you could
yes.
spiral into a zillion things from there.
Right. So many goosebumps. Yeah.
So that one's been very alive for me, and I'm trying to practice it consistently.
Yes. That's a beautiful practice. Yeah. Can I trust what I've done is enough? And you mentioned like Jesus calling, and I think I read or saw that you were like, you mentioned you were, oh, maybe it was in your podcast that you were reading your Bible more.
Mhm.
And I'm curious and like seeing connections to energy work and the work that you do with Jesus and the Bible. Does anything like just really come to mind, or has anything like what's really come alive for you in making those connections, or anything stand out?
Yeah. I feel like there is a whole series that could be said on this, right? Like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I think it really depends upon, I know a lot of people who were in a specific type of religious upbringing. And I feel like there was a lot of ideas that were really just kind of forced upon them. And for me, I didn't have that. Neither one of my parents really forced it on me. It was present, but it wasn't forced on me. And I feel like that's a luxury, honestly, like that I could
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
formulate my own connection with God and ideas, because it's allowed me to be curious without the guilt and
Mm.
explore these different
Mm.
ways that people talk about the Bible and the language of the Bible and
Mm.
Jesus. I mean, Alan Watts in particular, like, I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
him, but just studying many different religions and seeing the connections of that. And there is not one specific thing, because I feel like now I am like in a massive lifelong research project.
Yeah. I
That's
love that.
that's what I
Yeah.
feel like as I've started reading it again, is like, okay, well, first of all, there's all of these different versions of the Bible. there's a zillion ways to interpret one single sentence. And when, then you listen to, like I mentioned before, Neville Goddard and how he talks about the phrase I am. And I'm like,
I
okay,
gotta write that down.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you'd enjoy it. But it's like when we're
Yeah.
breaking down, and since I've been listening to like church more often, and the way that they go into like a specific word and
Yeah.
where that word came from and what it meant in Greek or wherever, I'm like, hang on. There is way more here than I don't know how anybody has defined any kind of rules for anything about this at any point
I
ever.
love that. Yeah.
I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
if we're talking about,
It's so open. Yeah.
yes, I'm like, if you're fixating on one word and people are certain, I don't know. I just like I'm really just so fascinated right now more than anything. And I'm just like kind of trying to make connections and diving it, like researching things that I normally wouldn't have. Like I didn't know what the gospels were,
Yeah.
and I would just be like, yeah, I know what the gospels are. And then I'm like, why don't I look up what that means? This is not that big of a deal. Just look it up, and certain words from the Bible, like
Yeah.
I would just like kind of pretend that I knew what things meant. And now I'm like, no, I'm just going to look it up.
Yeah.
And that's when the connections are coming in where I'm like, oh, that has a through line
Beautiful.
throughout all of life.
Yes. What a beautiful way to come at it. I love that.
Yeah. I honestly,
That's so cool.
I feel
Yeah.
lucky to do it that way because I do just feel, I know so many people who are, I think, experience so much harm from it. And they're like, no. Or they feel like
Yeah.
approaching it from that way is so wrong. And I'm like, I just
Right.
don't feel that way.
Right.
And that's allowing me
That's so
to
beautiful. Yeah.
freely do it, I guess.
I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of been fun.
I love that. I love that. Cool. I feel very challenged, like in a beautiful way. Well, now I'm like, is it challenged or can it be breezy and less? Less is more, but just like trust,
Mm,
just to like lean into trust in my life. And I want to be open to like seeing how God might be calling me to practice that and practice just living from a space of trust and what that might feel like.
yeah.
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 Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I want to be oh, it's 2:22 on my
Love
clock.
it.
Can we open with or open, close with some rapid fire questions?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so when do you remember the presence of God from within your body?
When do I remember?
Or how? Yeah.
Mm,
What does it feel like for you?
it feels like we kind of said it earlier, but it's like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
kind of booming, but more so just like this
Yeah.
big, deep holding energy that feels just very blue, like this deep, dark blue. And it's almost always just kind of a flash. Like he's like,
Yes.
just you're not a very good listener, Rachel. So I just gotta kind of jump in there when I can, when I can.
I love that so much. And again, it's so funny because I was just writing about one of my first experiences, like feeling heaven on earth, and it was just this blue,
Mm,
which probably sounds like strange, but it was just this like blue light.
yeah.
Just funny how things can be like affirming like that. Okay, how about the presence of Jesus? What does the presence of Jesus feel like for you,
Mm.
if I may ask?
You know, when you say it, initially I feel like I see like a gold, but I don't know that I connect with Jesus as often. And
Yeah,
that could have been a couple of people have invited me to do that more so in the past like year or so, but it's new to me. It's really new to me.
yeah,
Not that I wouldn't or can't or don't, but I think I more so connect with God. I don't know.
yeah. I love that. Do you connect with spirit guides at all, ever? Is that
Mm-mm.
something that's like resonates for you? Okay. Yeah.
There isn't like anyone that I could identify. I think that there was a point in time where I
Yeah.
was, was kind of open to that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that when we mentioned Jesus, like when I was a kid and I would be like in bed and I would be afraid,
Yeah.
I would imagine I would imagine God, but God is so what's interesting is
Yeah.
like would show up as Jesus, of course. So it would look like this
Yeah.
man and it's like he would like put this
Oh,
staff down next to my bed and it would like radiate
wow.
this golden light.
Oh, that's so
I was
cool.
like visualizing and I'm like I told my husband this a while ago and he's like, "You
What an
seriously
amazing
did that as a kid?"
kid.
I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I didn't even
You're
think
like, I'm
about
here
it."
for big things.
I didn't even
Yes.
think about it like that at the time. But it was like I was afraid, and so, like, that was the thing that made
I
me feel
love that.
safe.
Wow, that's stunning.
Yeah.
And that makes me curious, like, what your son will do.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's beautiful. I might borrow that if that's okay.
Please.
What does faith mean to you?
That is that trust, that unwavering trust that in the process, in life, in the challenge, in all of it,
Mhm.
like, not resisting what is.
Yeah, another beautiful invitation. Okay, we've touched on this one a little bit, but I'm going to ask again. How do you hear from God, and what are you hearing right now? I got a little bit of a pause there.
I think a funny way to answer that is that I hear from God when I'm listening. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that it's like that's an important one to say though, because I feel like a lot of
Yep.
clients will ask me like,
Yeah.
how do you hear this kind of stuff?" I'm like, "Well, you have to listen, not
Yes.
demand the answer,
Yes. Yes.
because that isn't always what I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
hear, you know?"
Right.
So I think when I
Right.
am truly open to hearing even the thing that I don't want to hear, and right now I I am hearing to trust, like to really
Yeah.
truly deeply trust. I mean, and I'm really trying to turn it all over, right? With
Oh, yes.
everything that I'm doing, I think that I'm asking. Everything that I'm doing with my work and honestly all around putting mm, turning it over to God because and I'm willing to wait a day or two or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to turn every decision over.
Well, that's really beautiful. Yeah, you're really fierce.
My
You're very, you're very powerful.
my husband would agree with you about the fierce thing.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for seeing that in
Yeah.
me. Yeah, she's
Yes.
a little fiery.
I love that. Oh, actually, that reminds me. That's what Dr. Kate said about you,
Yeah.
that you're all fire.
Yeah, Kate would say that about me. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And lastly, I love to end every episode with an invitation to healing, whether that be like a small mindset shift or a physical practice, but something that you might feel called to invite us into for the days ahead.
Yeah. Um, I think that the bigger ask would be that intentional transmutation of energy. I don't think that
Yes.
transmutation is a word.
Yes. I like it though. I don't know if it is, but I like it.
Yeah, because when I've typed it, it's transmuting energy if you are someone who
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
And that is just totally another prompt
Mm.
for me to create a meditation around that so that there's guidance to do it.
Yes.
Because that's not
Yes.
an easy
Yes.
thing to do if you've never done it before.
Right.
But I would say on a
Oh, that's stunning.
really simple level, 1 minute a day of intentional deep breathing.
Mm.
Because if you're resetting and you're
Yeah.
dropping your nervous system is like that's supporting the energetic whole. And that matters. That so
Mm.
matters. So that's something small and very, very doable.
I love that so much. And so when my kids ask me why I'm doing these random Instagram dances, I'll tell them I'm transmuting energy.
You are indeed. That is a fact. Yes. Yes.
Yes, you're so cool. And I'm so glad that I found you.
Yes. Me
And I
too.
love your fire.
Thank you.
And how can we find your work, or how can someone connect with you?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram.
And I'll link it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram at Cosmic
Yeah.
Artichoke, and that game is going to get picked up a little bit here. I'm not super active on there, but then otherwise, my website, cosmicartichoke.com. So those are great
Amazing.
ways.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
Thank you
here.
so much.
That was so
Yes,
lovely. It's such a gift.
this was so great, and you had great questions, and we flowed, and I love that.